Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Sam Irvin. We are here in Asheville, North Carolina at Irvin Music Studio for the weekly Wednesday live stream from 8 to 10 p.m. Still workshopping a title.
I think that's a great title.
Thanks.
Yeah, I
That
think you should run with that.
I think it is. That's becoming the title with the subtitle. I'm workshopping a title.
Right. You just need you need to come up with an acronym that's really long.
Yeah, if I could
And
have it
stands for
be
something
a
really
long
kind of
word.
tedious and boring.
Well, Craig, thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely.
Craig Kellberg,
Kellberg.
is that correct?
That is correct.
Kellrect. We're off to a great
Oh.
start. Yeah. So you're a bass player, playing around town, and you were telling me a lot of bluegrass and country projects, about half.
Lately, yeah, it's been a lot of that.
But background in jazz and rock, and we've never met. Right?
Never met.
I'm about to do some magic tricks, so I need everybody to know that we've never met.
What you're seeing here is real.
That's right. A connection, a genuine connection being forged in real time. You were recommended to me for a project that I think you were unable to play on because you were already booked for that particular date. You were recommended to me, to finish that sentence, by Kate Bryant, who's great and has been a friend of the live stream. And I play with her quite a bit out and about.
Hi, Kate.
Hey, Kate.
I assume you're
Thanks
watching.
for watching. She catches every episode for sure.
Like clockwork.
Very dedicated fan
Yeah.
of the Wednesday weekly 8 to 10 live stream. I'm workshopping a title.
Right.
I'm workshopping a title. Let's take a quick moment. Another part of the format of the show is me checking to make sure that we've got the levels up. And that we sound silky smooth. Oh, we certainly do.
Oh, wow. We're a little behind.
It's a little behind, yeah. Another guest commented that, like I said, we'll be safe because we could see, if anything dangerous is happening behind us. But
Right.
they pointed out that we would not be
We would
safe.
we would be very dead.
We'd get got, yeah. Especially if it involved a concrete wall being knocked down. I don't
Mhm.
think a whole lot of heads up would help anyways.
Probably not.
I guess we could get out of the way. And that's what I invited you on here to talk about. So,
And that's how I'm going to kill you live.
right. The magic trick is resurrection to the next realm. No, I would never do that to you. You're a new father. I mean, that's really important. I don't kill new fathers specifically on my live stream.
What about old fathers?
Old fathers, they're free game.
Right.
5 or 10 years in, it's like old hat at that point. Once you're 5, do you need a dad?
You really, I mean, you're ready to get to work and
You get your saber, and yeah, a patch, I think, to signify that you're of age.
I don't think I got that when I was 5. I'll have to talk to my parents.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Not being 5, but anyways, so music is ostensibly what we're here to talk about. Yeah. And you said you have a composition degree?
Yeah,
And you're from Minnesota.
from Minnesota.
So we cheated a little bit. We got to know each other.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
No, you're psychic, and this is part of the trick.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I have a degree in theater and composition. From the University of Minnesota Morris,
Okay.
which is really small town that has a branch of the university system.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I think that there's a branch of Western North Carolina, like Western University, you can go to Biltmore Park around town.
Right.
And so
Well,
that's
like
sort of
UNCA
a satellite kind of
is University of North Carolina, Asheville, but UNC is in
thing. Chapel Hill. Yeah.
maybe, I don't know.
But I always thought, well, we have 13 state schools, and I always thought that they were just part of like the system.
Perhaps, I don't know.
I'm not sure either now, and I went to UNCA, so maybe I should know.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So theater.
Theater.
Does that help with your stage performance?
I maybe
If you're playing a sad song.
playing that song and just cry.
Right, on cue?
Yeah. I do a lot of shows where I just do a walking bass line and recite Shakespeare soliloquies.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You can't really hold a skull, so I guess you're not doing that particular one from
Well, if I
Hamlet.
do electric, I could tap the bass solo or the walking bass line, and then
That's impressive. That'd be a hip. I would definitely go see that
Oh,
show.
that would be like, the idea is really fun, but I feel like you would go to it and just
I would watch a show that had that as a small part of it.
right
Like somebody's on a wagon and they're doing that as they're being sort of
taken off
carted
stage.
across the stage. not necessarily off immediately.
Like, it would be it's one of those things that'd be like, oh, that's really impressive. I don't really care, but it is impressive.
Yeah, this guy is doing art.
I put a lot of work into this thing that is.
It was entertaining a
Yeah.
minute ago. Okay, so that's not what you're doing with the theater degree.
No, I'm doing pretty much nothing with the theater degree, and the composition part of it. I compose a lot of music. No one ever sees it.
Oh, yeah?
Because
Are you using Finale?
I'm using Finale.
Great.
That was the skill set I picked up. Yeah, like I've composed a bunch of like string quartets and string quintets and stuff like that, but it mostly just kind of sits on my computer because I don't know what to do with it.
And there's a deep world of, and I don't really know either, but so I'm about to just start spewing stuff that I don't know. But, trying to build a library, right? And trying to get into like the movie
Right.
soundtrack world, I think, or just commercial music in general. Yeah, how do you even approach that?
Which, I mean, I think that would require me being. I mentioned this earlier when we didn't meet before this.
Great. Yeah.
Um,
I don't not remember.
that would require a lot more tech skills than I have.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like,
Maybe you need a studio,
right,
like
like
Irvin
this
Music
one.
Studio.
Yeah.
So your composition degree, I don't want to date you or anything, but when did you graduate?
2012,
You don't have to answer. It's okay.
11, something like that.
Okay, 13. So we're like pretty close. I wish I had done the tech degree at UNCA. I did a jazz and philosophy double.
Okay.
And I'm not doing anything with the philosophy other than living well, I think. Being skeptical about how well I'm living.
Yeah, you're probably really good at making yourself not happy.
Yeah, but then sort of making myself feel like there's hope.
It's okay to not be happy.
Yeah, no, I'm not an existentialist.
Okay.
Necessarily. Or am
Welcome to this philosophy live stream.
I? Let's get into it. Is life even worth it? Or do we all just secretly want the concrete wall to come bashing in on us at any given moment?
I think the answer is both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. We solved it. I would like to do more with that though. Like, have you thought about getting back into like theater around here? And there's a couple of companies.
Yeah, there
in
are.
town.
I have the problem is like music and theater both perform at the same time.
Oh yeah.
So it becomes this sort of thing of it's hard to do both.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to
Makes
like get back
sense.
into theater, I would have to back off from music.
Yeah, and it's not something that you get to choose yourself. You can't just say, I'm going to do every other weekend, because
Right.
the shows don't
Yeah.
line up. They're not under your control, unless you write all of them.
Well, and actually in college I wrote a handful of musicals. And like I am interested in maybe trying to do that again and put on my own productions.
Mm-hmm. That's the ultimate.
But not enough to have done it. So
Well, that's why I brought you on here, to just talk about unrealized dreams and cry together.
right.
You can fake cry, and I'll maybe
Perfect.
fake cry.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can cry. Because is it even
Yeah.
worth it?
Not since 2017.
It's hard to cry, with the water shortage
Right.
ending and everything. Oh yeah, I've tried to think about how to put philosophy and music together. Similar to the Hamlet scenario with the
Right.
head on the bass. Improv-philosophy was a concept I was
Ooh,
trying to
okay.
throw around for a while. Like a debate, sort of a debate club, but there's also a band happening. I don't know what the proper venue for that is in town.
I don't know.
There's
Orange
nothing
peel,
really
maybe?
weird anymore. Yeah, the auditorium,
Yeah, I mean
maybe.
that would be
It's not metal enough.
that's the actual answer. Orange peel, it's definitely not.
Orange peel. Right. When I get
Thomas Wolfe, maybe.
yeah, maybe. I don't know if they're quite up to the standard of venue that I'm thinking of. Have you played the Wolf, or are you playing to like? So you're playing. Have I already talked about this? You play with Fancy and the Gentleman
Yes.
with Kate, who connected us. Did I? You're saying yes because you play in the band?
Yes, I
because
play
I
with
already
him.
brought it up.
Both, I guess.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Um, uh, what other projects do you have going on right now?
I play in a band called Drayton and the Dreamboats. We used to be a jazz band. Um, we are now a rock band. Like we used to very much. It used to be like a trio. It was just bass guitar and Drayton, who plays violin and sings, and we would do like jazz ballads, crooner jazz. That was like the thing. And then we added a drummer and got like a little bit more silly stage antics and kind of interpreted the jazz standards in a little more rock and roll mentality. And in the last like year or two, we've started doing just Elvis and Chuck Berry and
Okay, that's cool. That's adjacent for sure.
It's
You're
adjacent.
you didn't go to like Coldplay and System of a
no,
Down,
no. Although maybe that's next,
right? The evolution,
Um,
the Dreamboats.
right?
Are you? Does that make? Wait, is it and the Dreamboats?
Yes.
You're
I'm a dreamboat.
Dreamboat.
Can't you tell?
Excellent. Well, I wasn't gonna say.
Yeah.
I mean, 2000. You graduated 2011 or 12. You're a little old for my kids.
Maybe I just graduated young.
Oh, yeah. I guess. Well, I won't date you. I don't want to date you. Let's. Or in either way. So that's two projects that you're like in, like listed as personnel on. Do you
Yes.
do like gun for hire work?
Yeah, I sub in with a lot of people. We haven't been playing a lot lately, but officially I am part of Upland Drive. We're
Mhm.
playing in August.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Did I mention that you play bass?
I don't know.
Or did we, either of us?
No
You
idea.
said something about playing bass while you do Hamlet, but you play bass,
play bass.
in all of, and
Yeah.
that's like your thing.
There are other bands who are probably going to be upset at me for not remembering that I play with them.
Uh-oh. You're not worth it.
But yeah, I mean, I also, there are like a bunch of bands that I feel like I'm several people's second call.
Yes,
Like,
yeah. I know, you're on the list for me.
like if, there are a lot of people for whom they have their main bass player, and if they can't make it, I'm the person they call next.
Hmm.
And that kind of fills a lot of things.
I'm sure, yeah. I'm sure you get a lot of calls as a bass player in general.
Yeah.
Not a lot of guitarists needed.
No, generally it's guitarists doing the calling.
Yep. Yeah, that's the way of the world.
Um,
Is it worth it? No, it is. I play trumpet too. I don't know if I've mentioned that.
not to me.
I'm not sure if a bass trumpet duet is the road we'll walk down on our jam, but we'll find out.
It could be.
And you've got your hurdy-gurdy.
I have my hurdy-gurdy.
In case we run out of stuff to talk about.
Right.
We could talk about that in a moment. But no, I'm interested to talk just about, well, like bass playing in general. I do have a couple of students that watch this.
Okay.
So if there's any didactic ground we could cover. Our mutual acquaintance, Philip Trutel,
Mm-hmm.
gave like a sweet drum demonstration of some like rhythmic modulation exercises on the
cool.
kit. Is there any advice on the bass that you would give out to people who are trying? I know that a student, Gray, watches this. Hey Gray, if you are watching. And he's writing a song right now for 2 guitars and bass and drums. And his bass part is really just the guitar part, but like an octave down.
Right. Well, there's a lot of that in like your like Led Zeppelin, Rage Against the Machine, like There's a long history of bands where the bass player just doubles the guitar line
AC/DC.
down. In fact, it's called a double bass because traditionally it doubles the cello part.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that's why it was a.
that is where the name comes from.
Interesting. I
Because-
thought it was because it was double the bass clef, because you're a whole octave.
And like it's got a handful of different names, but no, the double part comes because it's traditionally a doubling instrument.
All right. I've been trying to convince this particular student, or myself in general, to always have, like, if there's a riff-based thing that I'm writing, to try to not have it based off the one and have the bass based on the one. But in the world of mixing too, I guess there's, you want the sub bass, which you don't really hear and you feel a little bit more. And then that low range of the guitar is what actually like packs the punch or is audible. So that's good. That's good advice right off the bat.
But
it's cool to double.
Doubling is great. But what was the question?
Should you? Oh, I don't know.
Just like other things to do with it.
Any random bass pointers?
So after years of trying to like get really good at all these complicated parts, because I like cut my teeth on like modern jazz stuff where everyone's just doing all this crazy stuff. Like 3 years ago, a band I was in at the time was doing we were doing like a weekly jam session. And I had like someone else came and sat in, and I listened to them play, and I was like, oh, they play a lot like me. It doesn't sound very good. And like that was like a moment where I was just like, oh yeah, like I can do all that, but really, in the style of music that we were playing, really what I should have been doing was dum, 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 dum. Like there's
on the one's on the one.
Yeah, like there is a reason that is the kind of bass line you hear in a lot of styles of music. It's what helps fill out the sound.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the advice would be, the vast majority of the time bass parts shouldn't be super complicated.
Yeah, it's tempting when I'm doing a composition to make that the focus, because there's the beat, and if I'm working on a synth or whatever, I'm thinking about like that bassy lead, not lead, the bass like part, the drum and bass making the formative part of the song, the beat. And yeah, I do take up too much space down below. Yeah. And then it's like, what do you even do on that and melody? And
if I feel like there are groups where I can do those things. Usually, they're smaller groups.
Mm-hmm.
Like at most a trio, and I have to fill out more sound, so I do.
Oh yeah.
Or they're groups where it's there are enough lead instruments that if the lead instruments are doing their job, they're not playing a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm. Space.
Yeah. Because if you have 3 lead instruments and they're all trying to play lead instrument parts, in an improvisation setting, that sucks.
Yeah.
If you have, if they have specific lines that they're harmonizing with each other, that's cool. But
I don't know. I like a little chaos.
Sometimes,
like noise.
Specifically, there are times where I feel like you can say, okay, at this part of the song, everyone's just kind of do their thing. That can be cool. But if you go to see a 2-hour show and there's a violin player, a saxophone player, and like a lead guitarist, and they're all just like trying to fill every bit of space for 2 hours, that's
I see your point.
That gets exhausting. Similarly, if you go to a 2-hour show and the bass player is like doing all this crazy cool stuff for 2 hours, that just gets exhausting to listen to. Like if they never sit back and play, if the bass never actually sits back and plays the traditional role of bass, you know,
Right. What's the point?
um,
Unless it's an upside down band and the piccolo is playing all of the roots.
Sure.
And the bass is.
well, and I guess it's ultimately if someone isn't serving the function of that, you know, like Victor Wooten came through with Steve Bailey, I think, recently. Another bass player. And I'm sure Victor Wooten was playing crazy stuff most of the time.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, finish your
but
point.
but there was another bass player, so there was someone playing bass, and then he was doing his stuff, and then presumably he would play bass, and the other guy would play his crazy stuff.
I'm sure he was courteous in that way.
Yeah. I didn't see it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they both just, you know,
Noodled hard
just
at each
just
other.
noodled for 2 hours.
Battle. A big battle.
But it seems unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. There was I don't remember what band this was, but there was a band that was being interviewed, and they were like asking the bass player about fills and solos, and what she said that kind of stuck with me is like, if you're playing through the song and there's a moment where you feel like the bass doesn't need to be there, that's where you put a fill. That's where you can put a fill. That's where you can, that's like a good time for a bass solo. That's a good time for a bass fill. Otherwise, stay on the low end, hold down the groove.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the necessity can really, I think, make the call for you.
Yeah.
If you know what role what role you're playing, like, oh, I have to do this right now. Sometimes the songs write themselves. Keep it simple, stupid.
Exactly.
Come to mind.
Yeah.
Victor Wooten taught a master class at UNCA while I was there.
Did you go?
And I did go, and it was great. And he talked about rhythmic modulation, the same thing Phil was talking about the other day. Like writing a sweet bass part, and then like writing a song and having a whole band, then start on the 2 as the 1.
Oh.
As sort of an effect.
Right.
Like with whatever I don't know, it's super cool. But somebody these like, any questions? Somebody like raised their hand and said their hands hurt. And he was like, oh, I'm not here to talk about that. Like, you probably need to drink more water. He was like, just shut it down immediately. Because that person just, obviously, I guess you got to practice more to make your hands not hurt. It was just a really funny, like, non sequitur.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with what he was talking about.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure, pain no gain is a terrible saying, and it's not one that I think anyone should really adhere to.
Yeah, I like that pain is weakness leaving the body.
Like, I think there's a like unhealthy habit among artists well, not even just people who are passionate about a thing that they do, to think, oh, this hurts, I just need to do it more and then it won't hurt, and that's how you get carpal tunnel or arthritis or whatever. If it hurts, depending on the kind of pain, if it hurts, there's a good chance you're doing something wrong.
That's a very good point. You're right. I should qualify. I can't speak for that person's pain.
Now,
I had made the assumption that it was just soreness.
Right.
From,
Now,
playing.
Victor Wooten wasn't there to talk about that, so Victor Wooten did not have to answer that question. But just kind of a general disclaimer, if you're playing music and your hands hurt, talk to your teacher, talk to someone, talk to a physical therapist, because possibly it's just, oh, you need to play more, but there's a decent chance you're also just holding your instrument in a way that causes your hands to hurt, and it shouldn't.
Very real possibility. Yeah, I didn't go to school for classical guitar, and I went back for lessons with Andy Urich, back to UNCA to like take guitar lessons. It was a pretty trippy experience, like return.
Right.
because I was getting like crazy nerve pain behind my shoulder blade, and I had some posture issues, and a couple of months of lessons like fixed it up.
Yeah.
It was great. Hmm.
I used to have like really bad pain in like my wrists and like some nerve stuff shooting up my arm, and it was because among other things, because I was playing in places where like my instrument was being overpowered. I would play really hard, and then my whole body would tense up, and I'd be playing like with these claws.
Yeah.
And I would try and play lines that were too fast for me to be able to play, and my body did the worst thing imaginable, which was tense up, which made it even harder to play those fast lines.
Yes.
And
Especially fast lines loud.
yeah.
Yeah.
And after like years of doing that, I developed like a lot of issues, and had to kind of go back and relearn how to play.
Back to the drawing board. Yeah.
And kind of get those habits out of my patterns, I guess.
I like thinking about those larger stories of like a musician's life. Paul Gaeta was on the live stream. He is like the I forget his exact title at Moog, but for a long time he ran the store there. Now he does more than that, but he was a DJ and did like a bunch of drum and bass music, and would spend a ton of time like making everything perfect and collecting samples and turning knobs and getting everything like perfectly dialed